My name is Ben Bolger, and I'm originally from Michigan, and I grew up around a city called Flint, Michigan. And many people can remember the film Roger and Me,
right,
where General Motors moved out, and still, many years later, there's still a lack of jobs. And today, when we go to places like Walmart, we see that most of the things made there are actually made in China and other places. So my question to you is, with almost 300 million people in America, clearly we need to manufacture things and actually build things in America. What's the best way that government can help protect jobs and keep them here so that we can actually produce things?
I'm really glad you asked that question. Thank you. You know, I share your concern that if we don't have a manufacturing base where we actually make things, our economy will begin a downward slide. Because if you don't make things and you don't have people working to create products, then you're not going to have a broad-based economy that will provide good jobs for a majority of your people. Because I am concerned about this, I started something called the Manufacturing Caucus in the Senate. I teamed up with a Republican. We came at it from different angles. He's Lindsey Graham, who represents South Carolina. He was worried about the textile industry. I was worried about the industrial plant of New York, the factories that are being closed, the jobs that are being shipped out to China and elsewhere. Here are 5 things that I think we have to do. There is no doubt that our manufacturing companies, particularly our older companies with legacy costs, are dying under the weight of all those costs. If you have to pay for health care and pension benefits for your retired workforce plus your active workforce, you are already starting way behind your foreign competitors. We need to help those companies create a means for paying their contractual debts to their workforce, but by helping them cover some of those legacy costs in return for them making some decisions about how to upgrade their equipment, become more competitive. So the whole legacy cost issue, the health care burden cost on manufacturing businesses puts us at a severe disadvantage. One of the reasons I want universal health care is to make us competitive again. And that goes right to the heart of whether manufacturing can survive. Now, secondly, we have to have a government policy that supports new manufacturing technologies and actually provides government backup to companies that will retool plants, that will put new technologies in and maybe get long-term loan guarantees or other means to be able to improve the physical plant and processes within the plant to be competitive with foreign competition. So the government needs to have a policy that backs that up. Thirdly, when you look at manufacturing in America, it's a high energy user. That's one of the reasons we've got to get energy costs down. But we also have to help reinvent manufacturing facilities to be part of the new energy future. When I was in Berlin yesterday morning, the paper plants have closed. But I'm hoping that someone with cash and experience and expertise will come along to help transform those paper mills, those pulp mills, into energy producers using wood and wood products and wood waste. This would put hundreds of people to work. It would help us with our energy future. It would help us with global climate change. We can create new jobs in manufacturing through a new energy policy. The final thing, the fourth thing I would say is our trade policy is really stacked against manufacturing. And we need a trade policy that is smart, pro-American trade. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I think trade agreements should have labor and environmental standards. And I think that's good for America, and I think that's good for the world. And I also think that we need to enforce the trade agreements we have, and we need to get tough on those countries that violate trade agreements. We open our markets to them. They come up with a million excuses to keep their markets closed to us. And we've got to have an enforcement mechanism that really mean something in order to make trade, once again, to America's benefit. And finally, and I want to say this because I feel very strongly about it, we need to send a message to the leadership of American business to remember where they came from and what helped them be so successful. And you know, I'll give you a little example, and I've said this, you know, in public before. I do a lot of work with the steel workers. We used to have a lot of steel workers. Now we have a lot of retirees in Western New York. And I was talking to the president of the steel workers the other day, and he said, you know, he said, we have so many labor conflicts with American steel and with American managers and CEOs. He said, but this gentleman from India, who's now like the third richest man in the world, his name is Lakshmi Mittal, has been buying steel mills all over the world. And he bought a bunch of mills in the United States. And so I didn't know what to expect, but he asked to see me. And he asked to see me once a month. And he invited me to his home. And he said, I want to work out any problems we have. I love the American workforce. I want you to be successful here. He said, I could get a better amount of respect and understanding out of someone who's never been a part of our American culture and so benefited from all that came before than I could somebody who grew up here, somebody who went to school here, but somebody who doesn't seem to understand his responsibility to his workforce and the investments that are necessary to keep America competitive. So that's like 5 things that I would do immediately to try to get us back in an effective manufacturing role. How about way back there?